So if you have joint issues, whether it's wrist while you're curling or shoulders while you're pressing, these are something you might want to look into. These are called N-Gage grips, and I'll give you a quick close-up here. These are essentially fat grips that create angled, basically wrist alignment as you're doing presses and rows and curls. So this kind of mimics an easy curl bar in the way that they create that angle for you, so you can use a straight bar and create your own easy curl bar. These are the regular size, 1.75 inches around. I'll show you the heavier ones are 2 inches around, and I've already got these attached to the bar here. So what I'm going to do is grip around and kind of step in closer and show you what I'm talking about. So this is the angled grip. So you can see this immediately creates basically a more neutral wrist position as you're doing curls. So if you find the straight bar curls put a lot of tension on your wrists, and me personally, I've had that happen in the past where I did too much barbell curling and ended up with wrist issues. If you don't have an easy curl bar, or you kind of want to use a fat grip, these are a perfect way to get around that issue. So you're basically doing an easy bar curl with a better wrist position. So when you're using engaged grips for barbell bench press, there is a very specific way that you want to set these up on the bar. Now, I have the bar set here just with no weight on it. This grip is the O grip, this grip is the X grip. So you'll see the little letters on the outside surfaces here. What you want to do is make sure that these are kind of in line right about here with where your index fingers normally go on the bar. So I'll show you right here. There's the little X right there. This part, this opening part, needs to face away from your hand. So you're gripping like you're trying to close those things up with your hand. Now I'll give you kind of a quick demo here so you can see where I'm gripping. And you want to make sure these are oriented exactly the same, so you're not gripping like one shifted like that. You want to make sure that they're pointing and oriented in the same direction. Then you're going to grip on here and grip solidly on those grips. Get in position, and then you can see my fingers are just kind of on the opening right there, and that's what you want to do as far as orientation goes. You're going to clamp down on these things, and then you're going to press. And again, I find because it kind of aligns your shoulders and your wrists a little bit better, it's actually going to make it a little bit easier on your shoulders to do the barbell bench press. So you can also use these with dumbbell curls, and depending on how you orient them, they will actually give you a little more tension on the supination. So as you're doing the dumbbell curl, based on where that angle is, it will actually add resistance to the supination as you're coming to the top. So, you know, these are just light weights, but if you start going heavier, you can see extra supination with these fat grips as you come to the top. And obviously, being fat grips, they will give you a wider circumference, so a bigger surface for your hand to grip around, which works your grip and forearms more strongly. So here's actually something really cool that I found you can do with these. When you're putting these on a chin-up bar or pull-up bar, what you want to do is angle them so that your hands are tilting like that. One of the coolest features of some of the pull-up bars that I've seen, and you rarely see this kind of pull-up bar, is instead of angling down like that, where you see, and it works on pull-downs too, but instead of angling down like that, you actually want to angle them up like that. So attaching these onto the pull-up bar with that angle, you're going to get more lat work and take your upper arm flexors, your brachialis, your biceps out of the exercise a little bit more, and you will get more lat tension, upper back tension as you're doing the exercise. So here's what that orientation looks like for barbell rows as well. That same trick applies from the pull-ups as you're doing when you're doing an overhand barbell row. So you can see the way these are angled on here. And again, one of the things you'll notice with these grips is that you will need to kind of fiddle with them a little bit to get the orientation right. But once you do, it's pretty straightforward as far as putting them on. And these are actually marked with an X and an O, so you can know which end goes where, basically. So I've got the opening set pointing back like this. So these angles are angled down like that. So as I'm rowing, I'm basically taking the upper arm flexors out of it a little bit more. With the grip and the forearms, because they are fat grips, you will get more activation there, but you actually will reduce some of the activation in the upper arm flexors, biceps, and brachialis. So it's a simple barbell row. And that's just just a lightweight, but you get the idea. So basically, by putting more tension on the pinky side, you are getting more tension in the upper back. So after messing around with these for quite a while, the only downside that I've really found for these is basically it's going to take you a little time to learn the orientations. Once you kind of mess around with them for a bit, that's not really even an issue. You're going to get a really good idea, and you'll know pretty quickly if the orientation is not quite right, and you just switch them around or rotate them around, and you're good to go. So it's a pretty minimal thing, and nothing I would say should be a deal breaker if you're interested in these at all. They're very well built, they're very solid, they've got good knurling on here, so you're going to have a good grip, even if you're using fat grip stuff. Thick grip, this is really good training for your wrist, your forearms, and your overall grip strength. Definitely something you want to keep in your gym bag when you're not using, or they might have a tendency to kind of, you know, walk off on you. But like I said, overall, really good piece of training equipment and something I have no problem recommending.